So hello guys, so today we are going to take a look at Webplay, which is actually a port of Qt5 WebKit. So this should allow you to play HTML5 games. Now there are several limitations. For one, there's no sound support because it uses GStreamer for that, but I wasn't able to get GStreamer working. So unfortunately, it will be no sound for now. The other issue is the lack of a JIT engine. So the JavaScript code is completely interpreted. So that makes it even slower. But still, let me show you one game that works okay. And that is also good for testing because it has a frame rate counter. And by the way, Webplay will run the fastest on the RG350 and the RG350p, and that's because it uses a 240p screen instead of the the 320 by 4800 pixels of Biolab disaster. If we press the X button, it will show the frame rate at the top left, and it does have some input lag because of the frame rate. So yeah, that was Biolab. Now let me show you some of the games. So this is one that I've just released on Newsground. That say that you have to make a few modifications because you need to make sure that the HTML5 file uses the 100% setting instead of the auto setting, because if you use auto on something like this one, it will misscale the canvas, so be careful with that. And on that game it is reasonably fast. I mean, not the fastest, but it's decently playable. Now let me show you one Game Maker Studio game, but that is exported to HTML5. Now this game did require a few modifications because if you don't modify it, well, first of all, it won't scale properly, but also it will most likely complain about the lack of, well, not about the lack of WebGL, because it works actually fine without WebGL, as you can see, but it will mostly complain that you're trying to run the game from a local repository, even though, as you can see, it runs fine. So that's not the issue. Alright, so that's chainsaw that. And yeah, it's very, very slow. It's like running at 3 FPS. And unfortunately, for this game, we cannot remap the buttons without a mouse, and that's a problem because, well, you can't exactly use a mouse. Well, I could show you the game, but it's very, very slow. as you may have noticed, no sound. But yeah, this is actually a Game Maker Studio game, and as you can see, it runs mostly fine. And for that game, you cannot actually exit because it seems to grab the input, so a bit unfortunate. So now let me show you how it runs on a slightly different display. Now you may notice that there are two different versions which is provided as part of the OPK. There's the EGLFS version, which uses the hardware accelerated surface, and one that is completely software rendered. But the issue is that games that use the Canvas API are still rendered in software. So using the Linux FB version is actually faster. So let me show you with BioLab again. And even though this is a very odd screen, if you modify the game to properly scale up, it won't be an issue. Though it will incur a performance penalty, though it may look nicer as a result. But yeah, we lost 2 FPS, actually maybe even, yes, 2 FPS because of the scaling process. And I have calculated that you need at least an overclock of 100 megahertz to recover the performance loss compared to the RG350 on the RG280V. So now, yeah, it's still 1 FPS slower, but it's mostly the same. And of course, if you can actually overclock your RG350, then you should be able to also recover most of the, well, it should run even faster than that. At 1200 megahertz, I believe you should get a pretty decent performance boost, but still. So that's pretty much it for the Webplay. Now I do have to note that there are several approaches to play HTML5 games on the platform like this one. So one, you could port a complete web browser, which is what I've done in this case, but the issue is that it is quite slow doing that. And as you can see, there are several issues with the implementation, one of them being the fact it uses GStreamer rather than FFmpeg, so we don't get any sound either, and that's a problem. The other issue is not using Qt5, but instead porting WebKit directly to using SDL or the DRM KMS API. Actually, there's someone actually planning on doing just that, and hopefully there will be a decent performance improvement. The other way of implementing this is to use something like TypeWarp. So basically you make your own HTML parser, you try to detect the settings and all, and then you use like some sort of a JavaScript interpreter. You just render the graphics with SDL and just use that. And I have been considering doing it that way, but it's not that easy, unfortunately. So that will be it for now, I guess, though. So thank you and bye.